It's Tom Albright with AVNation with the road to CEDIA. CEDIA Expo happens the 7th through the 9th in beautiful Denver, Colorado. CEDIA and CIX, our friends at Commercial Integrator, are putting on their show in conjunction, the commercial side, and with me to talk about their class, which I'm very excited about, is my buddy Steve Greenblatt and Brittany DiCesare from Control Concepts. Welcome, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
So a class that you guys did and you've done, and quite frankly, you have made part of the culture at Control Concepts. The class is called Understanding Personalities for Increased Productivity and Success. You're doing it twice, right? One for the CEDIA crowd and one for the CIX crowd. The CIX is happening on the 7th at 1:45. The CEDIA side is happening on the 8th. At 11 o'clock. Brittany, from somebody coming in from the outside, you've been at Control Concepts for a while now, but still, you know, this was something Steve had in place. Why is, you guys use DISC, but why is really understanding personality types so important to a business and to a culture?
Well, it's important in every aspect of our life. When it relates to business, being able to work with different personality styles is important, and it's vital to the success of yourself, your role, and the company. Being able to relate, being able to communicate in the styles other people need that might not necessarily be a natural style to your own. Understanding some people need written communication, some people prefer verbal, some people need fewer details, some people need to understand the whole story before they get on board. All of that is important to be able to operate efficiently as a team and work successfully together. When you go outside of your actual company, being able to have those conversations when you're in sales conversations, when you're talking between sales and engineering, all of those, you're met with different personalities. So the more easily you can identify what that personality is, how they're going to prefer to communicate, the easier you can adjust, make some tweaks to your style, and be able to help bring people to your side of the table as you're having those conversations.
Steve, you and I have known each other for a while. I've watched you evolve as a business owner and as a leader. I also remember that you and I, when we first met, you did not have this in place. What drove this? What drove this decision to really implement this at Control Concepts?
I was first introduced to it from my business coach, and we've been working together for like 13 years now. And shout out to Dave Shanebeck. He really used this from day one when he met me, and he used this to be able to assess who I was so that he knew how to coach me. He knew the type of person I was, what I was going to respond to, what was going to work. And he also needed to know how to make adjustments in himself to be able to work well with me and to be able to use different techniques and different motivations to see what to really get the most impact in working with me versus just using a blanket strategy working with everybody. And if he stayed in his natural personality type, and he'll admit this, it probably would be a little too dominating for me because that was more of who he is naturally, and he's also more of an outgoing person, whereas I'm a little bit more reserved. I'm a little bit more detail oriented, and I'm a little bit more specific in what I need. And you know, he probably wouldn't have worked right away, and you know, and that really was the entry point to this. And we've taken this, and he's taught me to take this to apply to hiring, management. I mean, I have a file of everybody on our team and their DISC profile, and everybody on our team is on board also has a copy of their own, so that they know a little bit more about themselves. And I've understood more about myself in the last 10, 12 years than I knew prior to that because of this. And that's why it's just so fascinating. And then if you start to look at it, you can apply it to any type of relationship, just like Brittany said, personally, professionally. It's just such a great way of being able to feel more comfortable and working with people, especially if that's not your strength.
No, absolutely. Brittany, the old joke between Steve and I is that for every time one of us would go to a show or an event, the other one would be there. At one point, we would see each other more than our wives would. You guys are obviously going to CEDIA and CIX not just to teach classes, though, but one of the evolutions of control concepts is providing software and providing programming services to the community and to the manufacturers. Explain to some folks, both from a manufacturing standpoint and even integrator standpoint, what you guys offer and one of the things that you're hoping to accomplish at CEDIA.
We have a 25-year history in the industry of programming, and so we started as an independent programming house. And so we have lots of experience doing that. We understand the role programmers play in integration and in projects because we've been there. And so what we did several years ago is actually start shifting our business to move away from being that independent programmer to actually building the building blocks for programmers. So now we're working with manufacturers to make sure that their devices and products are easily controlled. And so with that, we're developing drivers, modules, plugins for the control platforms so that programmers can take those and have a launching point a fewer steps down the road than actually starting from scratch. So it makes everything a lot simpler in the field when it's time to program and make everything work.
And Steve, from a programming standpoint, Steve hosts the control concepts. Good Lord, the state of control on AVNation, but also Ask the Programmer as well. When you're talking to programmers, how important are those building blocks? How important are those running starts?
For me, when I was doing programming, it was immensely important. Everybody is always under the gun to get a project done, and especially trying to get it done within a budget. And nobody really is able to build in working with a new product, as well as it's a different skill set when you have to learn how to decipher an API, which is an application programming interface, to define our acronyms. You have to really have a little bit of a different talent, and not to say that all programmers couldn't get there. They're just not used to doing that. They're used to taking what they know and making the products work together and assuming that they work together. And that's where these building blocks come in, and they're so vital. And because really what programmers' job is catering and customizing the solution to meet the client's needs, not necessarily worrying about what are the bits and bytes that I have to use to talk to a particular product. That's typically assumed that's going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Thursday and Friday, September 7th and 8th is where we can find you two fine folks on stage talking about understanding personality types for the business. Brittany, if somebody wants to find out more about the software side of control concepts or how to engage you guys, how do they do that?
So they can go to controlconcepts.net. You can reach me on Twitter and LinkedIn at BrittDice, or you can email me directly, brittanyD@controlconcepts.net.
All right, and Mr. Greenblatt, how can the people just connect with you in general?
You can reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. As you mentioned, a state of control is something near and dear to my heart, and something that I appreciate the opportunity to have worked on with you and Rich Fregosa, and that's an AVNation podcast about control programming and automation. And I also have another podcast that's a weekly that I do with James King called Ask the Programmer, and just keeping the conversation going about programming and being able to bring to light this real niche industry that exists in the AV space, and giving more of a voice to a lot of people that tend to be isolated and not necessarily having that outreach. So that's really why those exist.
All right, very good. Brittany DiCesare and Steve Greenblatt from Control Concepts. We'll see you guys at CEDIA. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Follow along as we also head to CEDIA and CIX September 7th through the 9th in Denver, Colorado. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.